But things have changed. The left doesn't care about free speech anymore, so it was no surprise today to see new reports that Google is building a brand new censored search engine that will allow it to re-enter the Chinese market, will be actively abetting the communist police state there and crushing dissent.
Well, Apple announced it is temporarily halting business in China because of the coronavirus. The company says 42 stores will be closed through February 9th. Sick people touching the same devices before buying them could spread the virus in Apple's communal environment. Sales in China make up more than 15% of Apple's revenue, and Apple says online sales will continue.
News alert now, over 64,000 coronavirus cases now confirmed all around the world. China revealing more than 1,700 of its medical workers have been infected with that disease.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts and more bombshells, giving us a good idea of what's to come and giving us a better explanation about the bigger slam dunk cases that are ahead. And we're going to take a look at an interesting theory, and we're going to ask questions about what this virus is and why it's happening in the way that it's happening and what it could actually be tied to, including certain organizations that may be involved with crimes against humanity. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more, so you guys are going to stick around and check it out. Hi, my name's Craig. Welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk, and a happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there. I hope that if you're out there with your significant other, please just have a wonderful day. And with that being said, I always remind everybody to come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to hit the all button so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. Today we're going to pick up where we left off. We left off at 3859, picking up here at Q post 3860, and we're just going to jump right into it. Plus, you guys are definitely going to want to stick around because we're going to talk about it and just ask a few questions about what is happening with this whole virus in China, and it's going to be big. So you guys are going to want to stick around to hear that, and then we'll talk about that plus a few other things. Now, today, we're starting with the post from yesterday where Q gave us this, another graphic that we've gotten here before on the channel, where it says, it's got a picture of Nancy Pelosi and her minions saying, haven't you figured it out yet? It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. And it gives us a link to this Jim Jordan tweet, where Jim Jordan says this: Democrats call on Barr to resign? Really? Bill Barr is fighting to hold the FBI accountable for lying to the FISA court 17 times. Now, is it a coincidence that Jim Jordan wrote the word 17 in all caps? And we know, I mean, it's obviously a fact of the story that there was at least 17 times where the FBI lied to the FISA court to obtain the illegal warrants, right? Which are illegal if you use unverified false information that you know is false and present it to a FISA court to begin an investigation into obviously your political opponent, right? If you do that, that is lying to the FISA court. They did that 17 times, and they were spying on President Trump, and they wanted to basically get rid of their political enemies. And that seems to be what we're finding out here. And then there's all these different layers that come into this whole thing. But in order to understand what's coming, and you guys need to mark my words, you know, if you guys think this stuff's big that's coming out day after day after day, just get ready for what's coming. I wish I could talk more about it, but it's just I think it's gonna blow so many people's minds when they understand the severity and just the things that have gone on behind the scenes. That's the only thing I can say. But and we'll just wait and see. I don't know anything. I'm just saying it's possible that it's going to be so big that who knows if all of it will even come out. That's how big it's going to be. And I know you guys keep going, well, you know, oh, nothing's happened. You keep saying something big is coming. Well, guess what? You can mock it. You can ignore it. It really doesn't change the fact that it's coming. So, and those who are out there who know, they know that what I'm saying is 100% true. And they know what's coming, and they're terrified. And that's why they're throwing everything they can at President Trump right now, because they understand what that information will show. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and just leave that, because I don't want to get too much into the weeds there without saying anything. It's saying a lot without saying anything, and I'm sorry for that, but that's just the way it is. Yeah, so that's what Q wants us to look at. Obviously, Jim Jordan telling us to look at the witnesses, not surprising at all. The next one here is a very interesting piece, and I want you guys to remember what Q says. Read this carefully. It's a Washington Examiner piece, and it talks about Durham scrutinizing John Brennan's handling of Russian interference in 2016. So think about this. What this article details is the fact that there were these conflicting sets of analysis done by the different intelligence agencies, including, the FBI, the NSA, CIA, and they all kind of disagreed with each other's analysis. And especially you have to look at the disagreement between the NSA and the clowns, because the clowns were trying to present two separate sequence of events, two separate stories that did not align with one another. One was presented to Harry Reid, the other was presented to officials inside the Obama administration, and they don't co-align. So there was obviously a deception at hand, and if you dive deep into this, you're going to understand that John Durham has been investigating these different accounts of what happened, and this is going to end up proving, I think, ultimately, at the end of all this, that President Trump was targeted using this false information by a corrupt and rogue set of officials inside of these different intelligence agencies who weaponized information, who withheld information, who would go and tell, Harry Reid, the head of the Senate there at the time, that, we have all of this evidence, we have all of the information about President Trump, and we have this dossier, but they don't tell Harry Reid, of course, that it's a DNC manufactured piece of Oppo research that was completely unverified and obviously 100% partisan. They don't get into that side of it, and that's what this report ultimately ends up talking about. And one part that I want to point out, just so that everybody understands what we're dealing with here, is that they kept all of this quite secret. They did everything they could to create an apparatus, and what they have these committees, these principals committees that were meeting to have excluded key officials who were normally clued in on the information, and that's what they were doing ultimately at the National Security Council, right? So they would get this information and then create these small groups who were handling this information, obviously to keep it from leaking, but also you don't want to bring, in my opinion, possibly, you don't want to bring objective people in on it when you're trying to, cook the books, right? You don't want to bring a honest accountant in if you're trying to cook the books, just like you don't want to bring honest, citizens who are gonna uphold their oath and follow the facts and not use, partisan information that was got through, ill-gotten means, and then used and weaponized. So they made all these different task forces, and the people who were on them were people like, Clapper, Yates, Comey, and I think, Comey maybe a little bit, Brennan though, and the rest. And it all ties back to their secret diplomacy, Iran deals, all of that. It all ties back into that and them covering up. And that's why they had to go after President Trump, because Trump, when he got elected, not only did they know that he was going to find out about their criminal actions that may have happened, may or may not have happened, let's just say, but that he was going to blow the lid on everything, because you guys can mark my words, there always have been patriots in this country from day one, even when these seemingly incredibly corrupt individuals were running the country. And, that's the way I could put it at this point. But this is an interesting story. You guys should read through it if you have a couple minutes. It's a good read, and there's a lot of information there that will kind of give you an idea of where we're at and where we're heading, and how John Brennan's handling of the Russian interference and that whole thing is going to be a majorly important piece of information for us to understand the information that's going to be coming out in the next weeks. And that's the best way I could say it. So, keep an eye out for that. And I think that's why Q's telling us to read it carefully. and asking if it sounds familiar. And then Q repeats what he told us before. Sometimes a leak turns into a flood. So what that means, in my opinion, is that this simple, highlighting of Durham's investigation into John Brennan is the leak that may turn into a flood. And that's what these people are really terrified of, because they know what they did, and they know that a lot of patriots know exactly what they did, and it's all about timing, but it will come out. That's all I could say, really. Anyway, the next post here, 3862, you have Twitter, this Strand Junker, this is Andrea Junker, who says, I need someone to explain to me why Bill Barr can immediately sit down with ABC, but not under oath before Congress. Explain it to me like I'm in kindergarten. And Q says, all right, well, I will. So Q says, read delayed testimony. 1. Allow for public dissemination of critical facts, possible unsealed, declassified prior to world televised sit-down. Sometimes the necessary forum to update the American public is provided by those same people being investigated for release to change strategy. Watch what happens next. Q. So I got a few predictions here. They're all watching. The whole world is watching. Everybody's watching what's happening on these boards. When you see that, that can change. That one post right there could change everything. Because think about it. Are we going to see them reschedule this testimony? Are we going to see them push it forward because they don't want declassed information to be unsealed that would give a better context for the testimony to be given on a world stage with the Attorney General testifying in front of Congress about what's happening with Roger Stone? Because there's a big there's a lot of things that are being drawn right now in contrast to one another. And one thing in particular is that everybody's upset because Andrew McCabe is being let off with no charges, right? Well, think about it. Again, it's like when it happened with Comey. You're only doing that because you're not going to go for some process crime, some lying crime, if you have major investigations underway with much bigger criminal actions. I'm just going to say that because a lot of this stuff, we can't know yet, but it looks bad. It looks very bad. And the sources I have, which are really good, believe it or not, tell me the next set of information to drop is going to be very big. And it's going to be something in the realm of, what we've seen before, where you have major election coming up and people have to be informed about what's happening and the truth about, the people who want to run this country. Because that's all there is to it. And that's what we're trying to get to, is the truth. So that's ultimately what this is all about. But will they change the date? Will they push it? Will they base something off this? Who knows, right? But if that declassified information, unsealed indictment or whatever needs to come out first before the testimony to give a much better context for the decisions made by the Attorney General, then that's what we're going to be looking at, presumably. The next one is interesting. Q gives us this blank post. And somebody pointed out that back in, I think, 2018, Q on February 14th, Valentine's Day, did something very similar where Q posted without an identifying tag, and some people looked at it and thought, oh, that must be a Q post. I think it was a picture of some flight, when Q was giving us the cell phone pictures out of presumably Air Force One or some other government jet or even commercial, I don't know. But something to indicate they were traveling. I think it was to China. But here we go. And obviously you have a blank post. Do with that as you will. Other than people have said that the posts, the way they're coming out as well, look like a countdown in and of themselves, right? So you have like 3 posts. There would be, I think it was like 1 post, then 5 posts, then 4 posts, then 1 post, then 3 posts, I guess is where we're at now. After the 1 post or 2 posts and then a blank. I don't know. There's a lot more you can dig into on that, but I'm not going to get into the weeds there. Suffice it to say, let's get into the next post from Q. Gives us this John Cardillo tweet saying, they've only dropped the investigation arising from Horowitz 2018 referral. This has nothing to do with Durham's investigation, which is still ongoing. Now, this is talking about McCabe. So, of course, the fake news media is going to take this story, they're going to run with it, and they're going to claim victory. And they're going to have Andrew McCabe on CNN telling the American people how he did nothing wrong and how he's been completely 100% exonerated by the actions of the DOJ in dropping the pursuit of criminal charges against him. And but nobody wants to talk about the still ongoing investigations from John Durham, who is, as we looked at in that Washington Examiner piece earlier, is in coordination with interviewing all of the assets from the clowns in action, the FBI, and the NSA, and they're getting everyone's story together to see how they fit and why they lied to the FISA court, why they used unverified information, why they basically put together this seemingly a coup attempt against the President of the United States after they found out that he had won, and they had almost started it before the election even took place, which is even more disturbing. Think about that. But I think that's what Q wants us to look at, so you do with that as you may. Obviously, the document attached here is this Dear Counsel. This is from, I guess, the defense counsel for Andrew McCabe. It says, "We write to inform you that after careful consideration, the government has decided, this was given to, Andrew McCabe's defense counsel, saying, we write to inform you that after careful consideration, the government has decided not to pursue criminal charges against your client arising from the referral by the OIG to our Office of Conduct." Now, this is from as it says, the 2018 report. So they're not going to get them some process crime of lying or signing off on a warrant when they can. I think they're putting together a much bigger RICO type case against all of these people, saying that they were all involved, hypothetically, in a criminal conspiracy to basically violate their oaths to office, violate the Constitution, violate the law, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to leave that to you guys to tell me what you think about it. I'm just saying that's what it seems like as you look at this information coming together. Now, the next one here, finally, is this Dan Bongino tweet. And I would play some of this, but, I've gotten a copyright strike for playing Bongino on my channel before, so I don't even, whatever. Dan Bongino is a great guy. I like him, but I'm not going to get a copyright strike to play, a clip from his show. Suffice it to say that it's an hour-long video. You guys can come watch it for yourself. And Dan says, "I'm not playing the game until the Durham investigation concludes. I strongly encourage you to do the same. Check this out for more details." And then this kind of goes over the fact that, like, for instance, here he's talking about Lisa Page, and he's talking about how she wasn't lying. The CIA, the clowns, actually lied to the FBI's lawyers. And plausible deniability, it's all compartmentalized. It was all like an inside game. And I think that's why she feels vindicated because, when does a songbird sing? And, think about what that is, cooperating. If she's cooperating, she gave maybe information about all of this already. And she basically maybe has been given immunity because yes, she had this vitriol against President Trump. It was shown in her tweets. Yes, she did some pretty bad stuff in facilitating this, what I would say is a coup. But at the end of the day, sometimes you have to use the smaller fish to catch the bigger fish. You know what I mean? This happens every day in law enforcement. So before you go down in the comments and start yelling at me, telling me everybody needs to go to Gitmo, I would agree with that sentiment if you actually commit, major treasonous crimes. But also, how do you go after the top brass if you don't get people to cooperate with an investigation? You tell me. If there's another way, I'd love to hear it, and I'll read through the comments to see your thoughts. But that's just me talking, out loud here. So I'm talking this out. You guys, do with this as you may and watch this for yourself and make up your own mind. There's more information in this video. But what he's saying about Durham is very important because, as we pointed out before, the Durham investigation is going to tie everything together. But remember also, the Durham investigation, for all these criminals who are involved in this coup and this cabal of deep state globalists, whatever, this should be just putting them on notice that that's the tip of the iceberg. We know it all, and we're going to expose it all. And that goes way back before them framing President Trump into, I'm not going to say what, I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just going to say into other things that could be construed as high crimes and high treason. And I'll leave it there. You guys use your imagination and figure it out. Now, finally, Q says, bigger slam dunk charges coming? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, because what's bigger than what we're exposing now? That's what you have to ask yourself. And that may be, the answer to that may be exactly what is about to happen. Now, I want to talk about the Chinese virus right now that's sweeping, across the entire nation, right, of China. And now it's a global, seemingly issue as far as pandemics go. And there were a few interesting questions that were brought up to me. And there are a few interesting theories that I've thought of, and I just want to share them with you and ask these questions because we still have the United States. We still have the First Amendment right to ask questions and freedom of speech. So let me ask you this. If you're a command and control, authoritarian communist dictatorship, such as the Chinese Communist Party is, and you have been working hand in hand with big tech, Google, Facebook, Twitter, to create these command and control structures which are used to surveil your citizenry, but then also to take that to the next step, right, which is an aggregation of data, metadata collection on every citizen in your country. And you have taken years to be able to process that information, right? Think about the work that was being done in China by Google on things like Project Dragonfly, which they say didn't exist, and they say it might have existed, and then they basically said, we're never going to do that. What if the communist Chinese government took the capabilities that were either given to them or by big tech or stolen by them from big tech, whether it's by, on purpose or not? I don't want to get into that. But let's say they took these immense powers to be able to monitor their citizens and then aggregate that data and make it a query, a search base that could be queried at any time they want to figure out exactly who the political dissidents are. And then think about this. You have a major uprising in one of your so-called provinces of Hong Kong, and it's spreading into your country. And you see what's happening. What is the one thing a command and control authoritarian communist dictatorship is afraid of? Information, enlightenment, the people waking up to what is actually happening. That's why they have to propagandize. That's why they have to, rule with an iron fist. That's why they are authoritarian. That's why there's a 99% conviction rate in China. They rule the population as, I don't know if you would say children, and maybe even a different example would be better, but they rule them as authoritarians. Now, what if you had a virus? What if you needed a cover to take all of that information that you were helped by big tech to get, right? Google, Facebook, Twitter, the rest. All that information that they helped you aggregate and get, you took all that information, started, like I said, aggregating it and then putting it in query, databases that can be queried so they can make lists of dissidents who could be tracked and followed. And, these people think they have VPN and it's safe in China, when in reality, China was, I would assume China's monitoring everything all the time, regardless. Let's just say they had the technology to do that, and it was provided to them by the big tech companies who were there helping them, whether through forced cooperation or whatever. And you saw this political uprising in Hong Kong, and you had this virus that you could use as an excuse to be a cover for a mass arrest, a mass purging of political dissidents within your country. Right? Because a lot of these videos, you see these people being dragged, kicking and screaming out of their homes, right? And it's just the Communist Party rolling in saying, you have the virus, come with us, and every one of your family members come with us. Would that be the perfect excuse to pull off an operation where you round up all of the political dissidents within your country and then use the virus as a way to cover it up? Further question would be, if hypothetically some of these big tech companies help them to do this, would that be considered, abetting a crime against humanity? These are questions that I have personally am asking myself. And I'm not saying anything. I'm not, saying that that's what happened. I'm literally saying I'm asking the question. Okay, because I've had this kind of thought in my mind that there's something more to this coronavirus than we really understand. Of course, it's detrimental to the United States as well. 97% of our all antibiotics and 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredients are produced in China for the United States. So it'd be a two-pronged attack. You could get rid of all the dissidents in your country. You could quell the uprising in Hong Kong. You could use it as an excuse to basically quarantine and shut down the entire country as a whole and go through it piece by piece and remove any person, hypothetically, who is going to be causing a problem, who's been actively working to undermine the authority of the Communist Party, as they would say. And you could say, oh, they have coronavirus, and then they passed away in a hospital, and nobody ever would be the wiser. I'm asking the question, right? Because you have things like Google removing itself, and Facebook and Twitter removing itself from, and Apple. And that's the other one, Apple. I keep saying Google, Facebook, and Twitter, but it's also Apple, right? Think about it. What did Apple, Facebook, and Twitter, and Google help the Communist Party create? And even though they publicly said, oh, we stopped helping them or we withdrew, you don't think the Chinese Party kept going with the censored search engine? You don't think they kept going with the massive data surveillance that they were growing each and every day with these major tech companies? I mean, I'm only asking the questions. They shut down their offices in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Google did. And that was after they shut down their offices, of course, in China. Of course, it's a theory. It's a question, ultimately. Did these companies help facilitate something that truly is heinous beyond anything anybody could imagine? And Google removed itself from China a while ago because they cited human rights violations, yet today, they went back or not today, but a few years ago, they were back in China working with them like nothing had happened. So I'm going to leave that for you guys to kind of chew on. I mean, I'll leave you a few interesting stories to read about it, but that's pretty much where we're going to wrap it up. That's just my question to you. I'm not saying anything's true or false. I'm just saying it's a question. So that's it for me. I want to say thank you for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember, come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't watched these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. It helps out because there's a content suppression algorithm, because you can imagine why. For most of the reasons that I talked about in the latter part of the episode, I would say. They do not want any information coming out about this, because we can't assume that that it's all malevolent or malicious. It could have just been negligence, and it could have been greed, or it could have been anything that could have facilitated something that absurd and heinous to happen, if it is in fact what happened, theoretically. But that's up for you guys to decide. I'm not going to tell you what to think. You guys tell me what you think down in the comments below. Leave your thoughts, theories, and insights. I want to hear what you guys have to say about everything that we've talked about here. Also, don't forget to check out RedPillLiving.com. They have their President's Day weekend sale. So go to RedPillLiving.com/justinformed, or use the link in the description to go to RedPillLiving so they know that I sent you there. And use the coupon code for the sale up till the 17th, Dark to Light, and you'll get 15% off your order. Check out the Great Awakening coffee. It's a great new product they're selling, and they also have the liposomal vitamins, carbon 60, and a bunch of other stuff that you should go check out. So check out redpillliving.com/justinformed. Also, be brave. Download the Brave browser. It's a better browser. It makes your internet experience that much better. And I can only tell you guys, you download it, install it, and run it on your computer, and you'll love it. It blocks the ads. It makes your internet that much easier to use, and they'll make a contribution to this channel. Also, come find me over here at JustinFormedNews.com, where you get a bunch of different links to different information, plus the latest videos. Of course, I'm over on BitChute. That's the backup channel, Just Informed Talk on BitChute. And also, links to all of this will be in the description. I'm on Twitter at JustInformedYou. It's a great way to stay in contact outside the channel. I'm also on Patreon, patreon.com. You guys have kept this channel alive because, as I said before, wonder why they tried to put this channel out of business, because the information that we're going to expose is going to be big, but they can't shut down free speech in this country, not yet, especially if you don't do anything wrong. So go check out Patreon. It's a great way you can support. Also, GoFundMe is a way you can do a one-time or anonymous donation. Links to everything will be in the description, so go check that out. Now, before we go, we do a segment called God's Grace is Greater at the end of each one of these episodes, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, I want to share a very important verse. This is out of the book of Philippians chapter 1, verse 27 through 30. And it talks about living a life worthy of Christ, right? And I want to share these words with you. It says, just one thing. Live your life in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ. Then, whether I come and see you or am absent, I will hear about you, that you are standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, working side by side for the faith of the gospel, not being frightened in any way by your opponents. This is evidence of their destruction, but of your deliverance, and this is from God. For it has been given to you on Christ's behalf not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for him, having the same struggle that you saw I had and now hear about me. And that's simple. It's telling us to remember we're not afraid of this evil, because we understand that we have Christ in our hearts. We know the sacrifice that was made. We know we have eternal salvation in heaven. We know God is with us. We know the Holy Spirit lives in us. And we use that as strength every single day to go out in the world and understand that it's not going to be easy. Understand that there are going to be times where you feel like you're getting beaten down by everything around you, but you have to persevere through Christ, remembering his sacrifice for us, and then living a life that's worthy of that. And that's my message to you guys. That's all it is, right? They'll always try to shut us down. They'll always try to shut anyone down who talks about the gospel and presents Christ, because they are afraid of the power that it gives us. But if we hold on to it and we persevere and we have faith, we will be delivered. And that's the message I want you to share with your family and friends and loved ones, and remind them that we are strong together through Christ, in Christ, and for Christ. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you for watching this episode. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Hit it, punch it, tap it, bop it, twist it, whatever. Hit the like button. If you guys like this content and want to see me make more, that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.